Welcome to the 2025 Kansas City District Winter Weather Refresher Training. In this briefing, we'll start with the latest statistics about weather-related accidents from the NTSB. Then we'll deep dive into what you need to know about pilot reports. We'll discuss your requirements regarding low ceilings and visibilities and a few different types of turbulence before shifting into a discussion of icing hazards. Then we'll conclude with a peek at this year's winter outlook for the Kansas City District. Let's get started. Over the past 10 to 15 years, there has been a subtle but steady decline in both aircraft accidents and fatalities among general aviation users. This is great news, but there is still work to be done to improve aviation safety for all users, including GA. Of the most frequent weather-related findings among GA accidents, adverse winds account for the highest number of accidents overall, but low ceiling and visibility accidents are almost always fatal. When taking a closer look at GA fatal accidents specifically, accidents in IMC account for more than half of all weather-related fatalities. For comparison, weather-related air carrier accidents are overwhelmingly caused by turbulence encounters, making up more than 3/4 of the Part 121 accidents over the past 2 decades. Both IMC and turbulence conditions increase dramatically in the winter season, making these hazards among the most impactful to air traffic over the coming winter months. Pilot reports are more important than ever. Solicitation and dissemination of pilot reports is one of the FAA's top priority items. Controllers are required by the 7110.65 to actively solicit pilot reports when these conditions exist or are forecast to occur, or when requested or deemed necessary. PIREPs are still the only source for reported icing, as well as slant range and in-flight visibility. Urgent PIREPs for turbulence and icing generally peak in the winter months. Remember that severe or extreme turbulence, severe icing, and low-level wind shear of 10 knots or greater are urgent pilot reports. Timely dissemination of these reports is critical to aviation safety. Low ceilings and visibilities can seem unpredictable in the winter and have a big impact on airport operations. Fog and low stratus can certainly be stubborn and slow to clear at times. A few of the most common trouble spots are near river valleys and other low-lying areas, near fronts when moist air moves uphill, especially notable across western Kansas and Oklahoma, or when calm winds and clear skies combine over an area with a moisture source, such as a melting snowpack, recent rainfall, or a nearby water source. All of these scenarios can lead to fog or low clouds that are tough to budge. So when low clouds or fog are in the forecast, remember that RVRs can change rapidly, and you should monitor the TAF for amendments to help indicate when conditions may improve. Moving into our discussion of turbulence now. The terms CHOP and turbulence are often used interchangeably by controllers and pilots, but they actually differ in how a pilot must respond to maintain positive control of the aircraft. CHOP is a slight rhythmic bumpiness that does not change the altitude or attitude of the aircraft. Turbulence does cause momentary changes in altitude or attitude. Positive turbulence reports will trigger your requirement to solicit PIREPs. Shown here are the reportable intensities for turbulence. In general, the harder it is to maintain positive control of the aircraft, the higher the reportable intensity. Severe and extreme turbulence reports are considered urgent PIREPs and must be disseminated promptly. Moderate to severe turbulence is also considered an urgent PIREP. A note about CHOP. Only light and moderate intensities can be reported. There is no such thing as severe CHOP. If a pilot reports severe CHOP, question the pilot if they want to report moderate CHOP or severe turbulence. Never enter severe CHOP in a PIREP. Low-level wind shear is another form of turbulence that is more common in the winter months. It occurs within 2,000 feet of the surface and is most often experienced during takeoff or landing, which makes these winds particularly dangerous. Low-level wind shear reports under 10 knots are considered routine reports. Only reports that are at least 10 knots or greater qualify as an urgent PIREP and should be handled accordingly. This information belongs in the remarks section of the PIREP form. Turbulence comes in many forms, but there are a number of products that can clue you into the existence of a turbulence hazard. Turbulence will be explicitly forecast in products such as the Center Weather Advisory, AirMets, and SIGMETs. CWSU forecasters will mention if turbulence is expected to be a concern in the pre-duty weather briefing. It can also show up in observational sources such as PIREPs, METARs containing strong or gusty winds, showery precipitation, or reports of virga. Wind flow around buildings or other obstacles near the runway can also cause turbulence, especially on a windy day. Aircraft icing is one of the most significant hazards a pilot can encounter. General aviation aircraft are particularly susceptible, as many are not equipped to fly in icing conditions. Structural icing sticks to the outside of the aircraft, accumulating on exposed control surfaces, the pitot tube, and generally weighing the aircraft down. As a result, icing can seriously degrade the power and performance of an aircraft. It can also cause lost or false instrument readings and a loss or reduction of radio navigation and communications. Rime icing is the most commonly reported, occurring in clouds and freezing fog. Clear icing is very hazardous as it can spread far beyond the leading edge before freezing and can be difficult to see. It occurs in freezing precipitation and is common near frontal boundaries. Mixed icing also occurs in wet snow and sleet and is also common near fronts. As a rule of thumb, as icing intensity increases, it becomes increasingly difficult to remove or mitigate. Moderate icing, while concerning, is considered a routine report, but severe or moderate to severe icing reports should be disseminated as an urgent PIREP. When you receive these reports, please ensure they are disseminated promptly. Icing layers can sometimes be only a few thousand feet thick. A simple change in altitude above or below reported icing might be enough for the pilot to escape hazardous conditions. Getting the pilot into visual conditions is also a good strategy. Negative icing reports are extremely valuable, helping you to quickly locate safe conditions in an icing emergency. Now here's a quick look ahead at the outlook for the upcoming winter season. In the middle of the country, there is virtually no signal for anomalous temperatures and only a slightly higher probability for above normal precipitation from St. Louis and Chicago eastward. In other words, expect a pretty normal winter in ZKC. That concludes the winter weather training for this year. Feel free to reach out to the CWSU if you have any questions. Thank you for your attention and be safe this winter.